faith, believe in your source. Have faith.
Welcome to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs, the podcast that dives deep into the stories of trailblazers who shape our world. Our co-host, Lulu Benavidez, is a seasoned entrepreneur in the beauty industry, is a photographer, artist, and the proud owner of Lulu's The Salon in Galveston, Texas. Our other co-host, Krokonis Hanson, is a visionary in the entrepreneurial world with years of experience in business innovation and development. Together, they bring you insights, inspiration, and the journeys of remarkable individuals who have made their mark. And with that, let's get started. For over 40 years, Michael Cole has been a transformative force in the professional beauty industry. Starting his journey in 1975 as a licensed barber and hairdresser, he quickly made his mark, winning the Midwest Barber Competition in 1976. By 1980, Michael shifted his focus to education, launching a mission to help salon professionals continually better their best. Throughout his career, Michael has served as a stylist, salon owner, executive director, author, and educator. He is the founder and president of Salon Development Corporation, a globally respected company dedicated to salon business training. His strategies have empowered tens of thousands of professionals to build profitable and purpose-driven careers. As co-founder and board member of the Summit Salon Business Center, Michael continues to lead the charge in shaping the future of salon leadership, culture, and profitability. His keen insight into salon business trends and systems has earned him global recognition and numerous industry honors. Today, Michael is also a co-owner of 3 PCI Academy schools, where he focuses on developing coaching-based education models to prepare the next generation of salon professionals for long-term success. We're honored to have him with us to share his powerful journey, insights, and vision for the future of the beauty industry. Please welcome in Michael Cole.
On behalf of my co-host, Sue Krokonis Hanson, and I welcome you to Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Today we have a special guest, Michael Cole, which we are so honored to have him as our guest. Michael, you know, you've had a journey in this beauty industry. So can you tell us about how you started, where you were, and what you are today?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you. It's sacred to be here with both of you. When you were kind of bringing me up, I thought about whenever somebody asked you, the kind of journey you're having, your experience, that you have to give them in one word or less. the word would be unbelievable. And then, that way you got it covered either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I won't tell you how many years I've been in because it's embarrassing. But I've told my story a whole bunch of times, but I've listened to way more stories. And my story tethers to a hairdresser's story. I'm a classic, went through, the elementary, middle, high school. The 3 R's were not my strong suit. While I went to a college prep, high school, I really didn't have, at least, first of all, the belief in myself that I was, smart enough to go to college, and ended up through going to beauty school and actually barber school. Met my wife in barber school, and we married, and I don't think I'd get in trouble. We just celebrated 50 years, so it kind of gives you a map of the ride. And started behind a chair. My first position was working at Horst, Aveda, rest his soul. And this was way back pre-Aveda, and started as his assistant, kind of worked my way up into the company. My wife was also working at a competitor's brand, actually a chain. And she was being trained, in addition to the technical, she was being trained in whatever you want to call it, guest handling, client communication, selling, developing, and she was doing remarkably well with regard to both her income, measured against mine, as well as her clientele. And then, of course, we started having children, and Mary took some leave, and it became apparent to both of us that my income in and by itself was not going to sustain us. As default, I went and talked to her boss. That was, in retrospect, that was a turning point, that he hired me. He knew of my technical creative skill from working at Horst, said, hey, why don't you come work behind the chair on the weekends, teach our people what you learned at Horst. I said, sure. And to make a long story a little bit less long, I was promoted to, the training director. And he asked, go through our 1 week, how we handle clients, to kind of learn our philosophy. And in retrospect, boy, you talk about the light bulb turning on. I learned more about myself and the business side of the art than it was like, I was born again, if you will. And applied that behind the chair, and my clientele just blew up. And of course, he noticed it and said, "Wow, what's that from?" And I said, "Well, I had my technical stuff down, but you really kind of tied the loose end." And he goes, "Okay, so from now on, when you go out and you're teaching people about hair, please talk about that part. How you interact with clients." And and then he ended up taking me to a motivational seminar. I watched, somebody hold, maybe 1,000 people in the palm of their hand for 2 or 3 hours. And I had this calling of, wow, I would love to be able to do what I see this man doing. I wonder if I could do this for hairdressers. And so that was my vision. And basically, I kind of snuck into it. As I was demonstrating hair, I would do a little bit of what I learned. And then one day I thought, I wonder if I could stand on that stage, not have any model in front of me, talk about what would happen, just the business side. And it was, the dynamite went boom. And that was probably late 70s, early 80s, and the rest is history. I became a multiple franchise salon owner, but people would give me business cards and say, come to my salon. And I think Sue, this is when I started meeting Sue. And you go into the salons and basically talk about this, and then you would see the footprint. Retail sales would go up and sales would go up. And so more and more people asked me, and I got so busy doing that guy that owned the franchise company said, do that or do this, but don't do both. And my calling was to do this. I'm really a teacher before I'm anything. And that was probably mid-'80s. And the company continued to grow. And then in the mid-'90s, by then it's a brand. I mean, it's like a snowball going down a big hill. And Redken asked me in '95, would you consider doing that for our village? We'll pay you well for doing it. And then you won't have to worry about marketing yourself. And I didn't really understand what they were asking me because I was, I think 40, 45 at the time. And I said, okay, right. Ended up, this is one of the biggest moves I've ever made because they just said, here's your calendar for the year. How many weeks do you want to work? I went, oh, come on, really? Yeah. And I said, okay, I want to work 40 weeks. And, I was like, boom, it was 40 weeks. And I went, wow, how long has this been going on? And then I went through some medical stuff in the late 90s. And ended up doing an idea that we had a hunch on called Summit, where salons owners would come to, actually they were sitting in my living room in St. Paul, and we would teach them what I learned when I was working in the chains, and that blew up. That got us into the consulting business, and that company just went shoom. And somewhere around 2010, Redken said, we love you, but you're an entrepreneur, and this thing is so big now, it really needs some structure. So they brought in a couple of other people to kind of basically what they were saying is, we want to scale. We want to scale this, and I said, okay, go ahead and scale it. I just love teaching, and that happened for the next 10 years, and then it really blew up. And then after COVID, we all shut down. And it was the first time in my life, when I say the first time in my life, the first time in probably 30 years where I wasn't on an airplane for 4 weeks consecutive, 4 or 5 weeks. And I went, there was something about that. And then after we kind of thawed out and the world opened up, they said, okay, are you ready to come back? And I went, oh, I don't want to get on those damn airplanes anymore. And they said, well, then we love you, but that's kind of sort of why we give you money.
Yeah.
And I said, this would be a good time to, retire. And so I retired, and then I saw the same thing happening with the Summit company. It's an extraordinary company, but it kind of went beyond me And I said, would you buy me out? And they said, sure, we'll buy you out, but you can't compete for 3 years. And I did that in 2023. And so, and since 2023, I've been a part owner of 3 beauty schools. Sue would know them: PCI, Professional Cosmetology Institute. And I've been working with their coaches, and that's been an extraordinary thing. But in 2026, my non-compete's up. And I think the universe is saying, you know, before it's your turn to die, we got one more movement in you. So my intention, at least at this point, is in 2026, I'll launch something that I think is, I didn't want to come out of hibernation unless I thought I could come to the community with an idea that was beyond my next big idea before I retired. And I think I've got my fingers on something. So stay tuned, more will be revealed. How's that for a flyover of 50 years?
Fabulous. And it's bringing back so many memories, because when you were training director with said company, I was working for said manufacturer and came in and talked to you about the education and our products, and boy, it just clicked. We had a really great run.
Yeah, that was a good run. Yeah.
And I'm an Iowa girl, you're a Minnesota guy. So when we heard that you were going to go on your own and start developing, as we called it, the Michael Cole Show, I was like, come to Iowa. I want you. I've got 3 salons. We'll get them together. Let's go.
I remember. Thanks for the memories. Yeah. Right.
And it's just really cool when you see someone you know has such a passion, and then to watch them work and develop and be successful with that passion. And you know, the question that I was going to ask, but maybe you've answered it, because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I've known you as designer, educator, global guest speaker, now school entrepreneur. And you know, I always think there are things in life that have certain trajectories, and you've kind of touched on that. What I think is, when people look at people like you, Michael, who are so successful, they think it comes easy. Talking about your career, would you like to share a high and the low?
Yeah. Well, first of all, great question. You know, I want to make sure I don't open up a Pandora's box here. But there's been some, you know, really great, I would call it, runs. One of the highs was the beginning of Summit was a glimmer in my eye and somebody else's eye. And the only reason why we called it Summit is, at the time, I lived in a house on Summit Avenue, and we had a very large living room. And so I was in the living room with a handful of owners, and it worked, and people, magic. It was one of those right place, right time. I call it the Big Bang, if you will. And after we did it like 3 or 4 times, and somebody says, well, what are you going to call this? And just I went, I think because I live on Summit, I'm going to call it the Summit, so that when people come to St. Paul, and they come to my house, they go, oh, now I know why he called it the Summit. I had no idea it was going to get beyond my living room. And now that community is, I don't know, 6,000-7,000 salons. So when I look at that, I get humbled. I get kind of goosebumps and goes, who knows? The intentions were pure. I not only loved what I was doing, but I really loved the people that I was doing it with and for. And so that would be one of a handful of highlights. But to your point, Sue, yes, the cost of success, it's a 24/7, 365, and it's not for everyone. And and I say this with humility, a lot of times people will look at people like you or me or whoever and see us standing at a particular place and go, wow. But they don't see the slope and what it, and so you know that old saying, everybody wants to play on a world-class team, but nobody wants to come to practice.
Right.
Exactly.
At least not 7 days a week. Anyway, that's my story.
So, Michael, you touch about the Summit Salon business. You were the co-owner, founder
Yes,
of
yeah,
that.
yes.
For how many years?
We launched in 2000. So what is it? It just celebrated, I believe, its 25-year anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you talked about the opportunities and the challenges you had at that time. But Sue and I want to go back a little bit further back.
Okay.
And we both purchased your first book called A Little Off the Top.
Off the top. Yes. Yes.
Not only did we purchase your books, I also have VHS videos of you that I showed my staff at the time, because today they don't know what that is. A VHS.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little
Sure.
bit more about that?
Yeah, that's a great story. And Sue is part of this. One of the things when I first got started, this is now we're going way back to the early and mid 80s. While I was cutting hair and it's showing people, the hair thing on stage, I would talk about how I was developing a clientele, but I would tell my story. Mm-hmm. Like, I was a hairdresser for a few years, and it was all about hair. And then something happened to me. I learned about the hair and the people part. And then the big bang, I said, but before that happened, boy, my attitude is not something that I was proud of. That I was arrogant. I was very self-centered, egomaniac, and I would act out little scenarios that I remembered in my story. So I would be in the back room, and and the receptionist and back in those days would come back and go, hey, you're 1 o'clock's in, or we have one for you. And I would get angry as she's early. Tell her I'll be right out as soon as I finish. In those days, you could smoke. As soon as I finish my cigarette, Yeah. And people would laugh about that, because I think they could kind of see that,
Relate.
wow, I'm either doing that now or I used to do that, and it worked. And so there was a lot of different ways that I'm going to call it batitude or attitude would come out, and it worked. It was a story. There was some humor in it. And then I did that, and that's where I met Sue. We were in that era. And then I had somebody that was recording my audios. And back those days, they had the cassettes, right? And he said, have you ever thought about doing your shtick on video? And I said, well, yeah, but we recorded that. And he goes, no, I'm saying where you get dressed up and we'll do like production value video. And I went, oh boy. And so we had no idea. I was scared to do it. I was really afraid to do it. And he said, come in, we'll dress you up. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it won't see the light of day. So just for the heck of it, let's just do it. And so I did. I came in, and I used to call this metaphorical character Susie or something like that.
Yeah, Susie.
And so they made me up, and I got into the character, and it was fun, but they were rolling the tape. And at the end of the couple of days, they had spliced and diced, and they said, so here's what we've been able to do so far. And I went, wow. All my friends are going to probably laugh. I don't know. And so they said, well, why don't we just, let's just show it to some people, see what happens. And it was people were going, that's funny. Now, today I'd be thrown in jail. I mean, I'd be, I'd be canceled. But back in, we're talking 40, 45 years ago. And so that's what got me on the map. People would come. They would watch the tapes. They would take it home. They would make their people sit down and watch
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you have it. That was, in retrospect, that was a highlight, and that was a good run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
When you're talking about working behind the chair, I worked behind the chair for 26 years, which a lot of people forget that, was my real job. And I always told our receptionist if I had a Native American name, it would be one running behind.
Yeah, the one running. Yes.
Just always, trying to.
Yes.
You know, we have something else in common, Michael, which you would have no way of knowing this or recollecting this, but I had several salons in Iowa, and we were Redken salons. So my first hero in life, of course, was Paula Kent. I was obsessed with anything she said. She was it. But then we decided, like a lot of people today, getting good, well-trained help is emotionally draining. It's a long road, and it's a big financial investment. And so I decided to open a school. And of course, you become a member of the Iowa Cosmetologist Schools Owners Association, which is where I met Marion Loken, who was part of yours.
Yes.
She was a phenomenal businesswoman, a phenomenal person. And, you know, you kind of look at those people up on a hill, she treated me like I had been in the organization for 50 years. She would approach me, talk to me, ask what I thought. And so when I saw that you were involved with the PCI school, I just thought, what a small world this is.
Yeah. It's almost like the universe conspires to help us by splitting the Red Sea.
Yeah.
And I know that I was very shaken and I had mixed feelings. I was conflicted about retiring from Summit, but I knew it wasn't working. And by then, Mary, rest her soul, had passed. But her partner, Angie, had, we happened to be in the same place at the same time. And she asked a big question. So what are you going to do? And I went, Ange, I'm still pondering that. And she says, let me run an idea by you. And it was basically, come work. I don't want you working for me. I want you working with me. Would you consider being a partner? Would you consider ABC? Yeah. And I went, well, Ange, I don't have any opportunity that exceeds that one. So if you would have me, I'd love to. And that was another one of those big bangs. So in the last about 3 years now, it's been phenomenal. And I hadn't been that close to ground zero in 25 years. So it really is humbling to go, gee, there's a lot of things I talk about in retrospect, but you show up with people every day that are at ground zero, serving other people, whether it's an educator, a salon manager, a service provider, a student, and it's I can't put it into words. One of those experiences you can't language, but out of that came, we'll see about the last call.
I just want to tell a story on myself and put a plug in. When I started first doing platform work, you spent a lot of time on the East Coast and the West Coast and big cities, Atlanta, and I was always a little, I don't want to say intimidated, a little bashful about the fact that I was from Iowa. But as I've traveled and gotten more involved, Iowa has one of the best educational school systems in the country, bar none, no apologies necessary. Yeah. And in Minnesota, I mean, the amount of unbelievable talent at every level that has come from the state of Minnesota. So I'm gosh darn proud of our school system in the Midwest. Yeah,
I refer to our educational places in Iowa and Minnesota, but I have to say Iowa, it's Ivy League. It's the Ivy League of education, and I feel it. It's in my bones. I'm addicted to it. I'm hooked. I've tasted the secret sauce, and I'm going to take the ride.
Yeah.
Well, good. At this point of our podcast, Sue usually does a 5 quick question to the interviewer about your personal life. We're going to skip that part this time. Or that particular segment. And we noticed that you have been very open on your social media about dealing with grief. Are you willing to share your journey with the audience?
Yes, it would be a sacred honor to bring that to the conversation. It's a very, very profound part of my life. So what would you like me to begin the conversation with?
Well, I think that there's a story of where the point where your grief comes from. I would share, Michael, we haven't seen each other in many, many, many years, but we were on Facebook together. And when you first started sharing your journey of grief, I cannot tell you how profoundly it touched me. And usually the last thing I do at night before I go to sleep is check my Facebook pages. And many nights, Michael, I would cry over what you shared. A little, maybe a happier note, but I'm from the Midwest. We're stoic people. I lost my mother, my stepfather, my best friend of 40 years, and my husband in a period of about 36 months. The way we deal with grief, we just go to work a little more and a little harder.
Yeah.
It took 3 years for me to even realize that you called this thing that I was feeling grief.
Yes.
And I will tell you personally, your post really helped heal, Michael. There was one, it may not be your latest one, but there was one, maybe 2 posts to go. It's number 151. And it is so powerful. I thought if you would share that with our audience,
Sure.
it could.
I'd love to. Thank you. Yeah, let me just kind of give a context for people that don't know. So I'm my daughter. I lost my daughter to depression-related suicide, and that happened last September. And you just shared your part. When I bump into people like you, we both know that it's an experience that you really can't language. So many times I'll just look at the person and kind of with compassion say 2 words: I know. And that's all you need. And they know, you know, I know, we know. There's not a whole lot more to say. I just had decided that I really wanted to, on my friend page, I thought I'm going to blog this journey, first and foremost, for my own healing. So I had come to call it the sacred walk to recovering from when the unthinkable happens. And people, when they hear about incidents that I'm being walked through, you'll use words like, it's unimaginable, it's unthinkable. So I thought, well, I'll call it the sacred walk. So the one that you said the 151st post, I was posting, I don't know that I was posting every day, but it was frequently about what that walk is. How do you ink the unthinkable? So the one that you're referring to, I'm calling it a sacred becoming. And I have it in front of me. It says basically 9 months into the sacred walk, I now understand something that I couldn't have grasped in the early days. What I've been walking through isn't really just grief. It's a crucible, not a punishment. It's not a test, but it's a soul deep vessel where everything that's untrue gets kind of burned away, where only what's sacred remains. Grief is this deep, loss, this profound. It doesn't just hurt. It refines, it clarifies. While it's excruciating, it reveals. And while this grief did not consume me, it brought me to my essence, and revealed could never be taken from me regardless. And that is the love. The love of, call it the presence, the divine presence of life. The part of myself that was always has been more than just me. And somewhere in the midst of it all, my redemption began to emerge. Redemption not as a reversal or a repair, but as a resurrection. A sacred kind of becoming, not in spite of my loss, but because of it. I didn't ask for this crucible, and I did not want this path, but something wiser, greater, holier than me is now walking with me through this path. And now I'm seeing something new. I'm no longer just surviving what's happened. I am becoming. I seem to be becoming softer. I certainly seem to be becoming stronger. I'm becoming more able to hold paradox and presence and grace for myself and other people. This is what redemption looks like. From the inside out, the fire did not destroy me. It removed what I am not. It shaped me. It named me. It carried me closer to the divine truth of who I really am. If you're walking your own fire right now, your own unspeakable loss, I offer this. Don't fear the crucible, nor the becoming. The pain is very real. So is the transformation. And when the fire passes, what's left will be sacred. Because the crucible does not just burn, it blesses. And redemption is not the eraser of loss, it's the resurrection of something sacred rising through it. And so it is.
So beautiful. So moving.
Yeah. Well, I didn't write that. The universe, the divine came through. I wish I could take credit for those words. It was just something came through. So who knows?
You know, that's so.
Thank you for asking me, though, to do that, because it is sacred.
Well, you know, it helps so many people, because all of us has lost either family, friends, coworkers, clients, you know. So to be able to listen to it or to read it, you know, it's just so profound, you know. So, you know, I want to, from the bottom of both our hearts, we want to thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for putting out there on your social media. We love to hear those things that are so important to us, because we are losing people. We are grieving, and how to deal and to be able to deal with that. So, Michael, can you tell us how people can find you?
Oh, sure. Well, people are certainly welcome to come to my Facebook friend page, Michael Cole, and I blog there. I don't know how much longer I'll blog. Well, you know, stay tuned, more will be revealed. I have a business page, actually 2 pages, one on Facebook, 3 pages, one on Facebook, one on Instagram, and one on TikTok, and it's the same handle, Michael Cole Inspires. And that's basically where I really do my content around salon life. And then there's 2 other places that I really talk about a practice that I engage in, mindfulness, Michael Cole Mindfulness. And you can find those both on
Instagram,
Facebook and Instagram as well. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I do until I'm a free agent. And then once that goes away, I'll come back and we can have another conversation.
Oh, definitely. We definitely want you back.
Yeah.
Well, this has been extraordinary to be with you. Thank you. It's been a sacred time to be with you.
Well, on behalf on Sue and I, we just want to thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stay well.
Wow, what an episode. That wraps up another exciting edition of Artists, Icons, and Entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're leaving inspired and ready to chase your dreams. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode over at youtube.com/Artists, Icons, Entrepreneurs, as well as Facebook at Lulu Benavidez, on IG at Lulu Benavidez, at Evolve Hair Solutions as well. And don't forget to visit our website at lulubenavidez.com and evolvehairsolutions.com to stay updated. Until next time, keep dreaming big, creating boldly, and making your mark on the world. Thanks for listening, and take care, everyone.